Hi, welcome back to Plan V Works. I'm glad you can stop by. For this whole month, we are going to feature interactive cards. And also, because it's February, most of these cards will be Valentine's Day themed. And we are going to start with this very cute spinner card. The trick that we're going to use here is something that I found from one of my favorite crafters, Jennifer Maguire, and we will use a button to make this happen. Now also the elements of this card, I will be using Simon Says Stamp limited edition card kit for February 2022. And you do not have to use any special dies here, but in my case I used a scallop die just to create those circles. But you can use plain circles just the same. And the magical element to make this happen is that white button right there. Now you can see all of these little die cut elements is already part of that card kit. So I do not have to demonstrate the coloring and the cutting. They come with it. It is such a huge lot of cute little items that you can use for cards. This particular pattern paper has all sorts of sentiments with it. The kit also comes with this heart stencil, which I adore, and I'm going to use that right here for our card because I'm so excited to use it. I'm going to use that as my background, together with the pattern papers that came with it, and all of these little die cut elements. And finally, that little button that we will teach you how to do a spinner card from today. Now let's begin with our background. As you can see here, I'm using a slightly bigger card than my usual size, and that's to give way or to make room for the spinner elements that we will be doing. I start off with taping the stencil at the back of our pattern paper here, just to make sure that it's secure while we create our background. For this background, I wanted it to blend in because this is such a beautiful, beautiful background. And by itself, I think that it will stand out, but not too much that it will overpower our focal point. So I'm just using my embossing ink here to create a tone-on-tone watermark on our card panel. Now, as you can see, I just soak that up and we'll let it dry a little bit before I begin and finish the top portion. Now, for our scallop circles here, like I said, you can use a regular circle to cut this out, but basically I'm using a size or two smaller than the one in the middle. I'm using a plain white and a plaid pattern paper here, and I'm just going to die cut one more in the middle here, like almost the size of that button to make it look like a donut. Very easy. And I'm also going to cut two more that is slightly bigger than that just to cover it up. And you will see what I mean shortly. Now the next thing to do is to make sure that we sandwich this properly so that the spinner works. So that's how it's going to go. The white card in the bottom, the button, our spinner. So you can see it already spins. And then that red circle will cover the button from being exposed. And then we can also put our sentiment right in the middle. In our card, this is how it's going to look. So as you can see, it's a very simple mechanism, but we need to put it together carefully. We start off by marking the area by which this red circle will cover. That way, I can put together all of my little elements around that circle and the red cardstock will not cover it up. Now, as you can see here, I am just simply putting them where I would want them to be, just planning it out one by one and not gluing them down yet. Just making sure that they fit, and even if they overlap just a little bit, that's not going to be a problem, because this spinner card is all about just making all the elements come through. And I think this is how I'm going to put them together. As you can see, all of the faces or the smiley faces look down towards the center. That way, no matter how you spin the card, it's all going to be upright when it reaches the top. And now I'm just gluing them down. I'm using my tape runner here to stick them on to that spinner wheel. I'm just careful here not to cover that or to overlap on that red marking that we made initially. Just so whenever we spin it, none of the cuteness is covered every time that it spins. Now the limited edition card kit where all of these little die cuts came from comes with over 100 little die cut pieces like this, plus pattern papers, cardstocks, and all sorts of wonderful things that you will find to use for these kinds of projects. I just think that these ones are about the same size and will go and fit nicely on my spinner wheel here. Now that we're just about done putting and sticking all of our little elements in our spinner wheel, we're just going to test that out. So we can see if this spins nicely even with all of that weight. And it does. And I think it gives the recipient a little bit of extra delight that they can do something else with a card once they've received it. And I've decided that that red circle in the middle is exactly the perfect spot where my sentiment will go. But before I do that, I need to start up our button here, our button mechanism. And I will do that by just sticking it down to that white circle cardstock. Now you can use glue gun here or any kind of glue that will stick. But for me, I found that my tape runner worked just as well. As long as it's stuck together perfectly or well enough and strong enough, I think that it will work. Using liquid glue will take a little bit of time to make this dry, to let this dry and make this stable, but the tape runner definitely makes it faster to work with. Now that I feel that this is strong enough or sturdy enough, I wanted to see if it works, and it still does perfectly. And that white circle in the background in the back of the button will be the one that I will stick to my card panel later on. And that will create this sandwich of a mechanism for that spinner wheel to work. For my sentiment, I will use the Simon Says stamp Love Greetings Mix again. And I love this set, and just because it's February and we're creating a lot of Valentine's Day cards, I'm going to stick to this one. I love it. And I think I'm going to use that one that says to the one who has my heart because it fits perfectly on that little circle. Obviously, you can use many other sentiments that will fit on this little circle, like love or XOXO, Happy Valentine's Day, and so on. But I think that this one really hits the spot for me. Now, when creating all of these elements that you create a sandwich for or layers with, you have to remember to do all of your stamping before you put them all together. That way you have a nice flat surface to work with, because once it's on the button or on that little spinner wheel sandwich that we've created, you're not going to have a flat surface to stamp your image in, and it will not come up with a great result. So now I'm just heat embossing my sentiment here, and it looks so perfect. I'm just gonna clean that up a little bit to make sure that there aren't any white bits sticking out. And I'm just using my craft knife here, and you can do that as well. And you're good to go. Now, do not forget to erase all of those marks, because even though they're going to be covered by that red cardstock that we put our sentiment in, whenever you spin that wheel and the spinner card wobbles, it might show. So you do not want to forget erasing that. And this is how it's going to look once it's on our card. Isn't that cool? I love how that looks. It's just so amazingly cute. Look at all of those little cute things. They're just so cute. It has everything on it. Sweets, letters, a heart with a key. It's just so cute. Now going back to our background here, you can see that it's already dried up and I love that tone on tone effect there. What we're going to do is put back that stencil on the top portion, making sure that the top portion is covered, and just finding that perfect spot where the continuity of the design flows perfectly. And that's the thing about these pattern shapes. You have to make sure that it all lines up perfectly if you're going to create a bigger design like this. And now that I found my spot right here, I am just going to go ahead and get my embossing ink once again. And this time I won't have to tape it on the back, although you can if you want to. But right here I am just going to add more ink on top right there. And you can see later in a little bit that once I take out that stencil, it's as if that was created from one bigger stencil and we didn't have to do anything to connect that. And this is what I love about these stencils. They're just so cool to work with, and there are so many ways that you can make it work for your design. And look at that. It's as if nothing happened. Now, we are just going to let that dry a little bit. I'm just seeing here how it all fits together. But before I do that, while that is drying down, I will create my sentiment here. Now, this strip is a little too long. It has sending you all my love repeated 3 times. And if I cut it either way from both ends, from either ends, it's going to look a little weird. So I just decided to use 2 sets out of the 3 there. And now that our card panel background is done, I am just going to stick that down in my card panel. I love how that looks. Isn't that beautiful? There are just so many ways that you can use these stencils for, and this is one of them. And I'm sure you can use them with dye inks, with many other inks or embellishments, and however technique you might know. But I love how it turned out. It's not overpowering, but at the same time, it's just as beautiful. It looks like a pattern paper to me, actually. And now we're going to stick down our wheel here, our spinner wheel, and just like this. Now you can stick the button directly on your card panel. However, I find that putting that white cardstock on the back easier because you do not have to work with the button directly, and that just makes it more secure. Now I just put that sentiment on a white cardstock background to make it pop a little bit without having to put foam tape on it. I just doubled that up, added a little more cardstock on the back. And here we are with our spinner card. Isn't that cool? It was so much fun to do and easier with all of these elements already cut and ready. And you can use any kind of elements or die cut pieces that you have, pictures, or you can print them out, clip arts. And this is just such a fun way to send out a card. Now you can stop here, but in my case, I always add a little bit of glitter. And that's exactly what I'm doing, just adding some glitter on the little hearts and the little smiley faces. And I think it looks absolutely cute. I hope that this card inspired you to create Valentine's cards and making them interactive and more fun for the recipient and for yourself to make as well. And I hope that you try them out today. We have more interactive cards coming this month, so make sure you like and subscribe right here at Plan V Works for more affordable crafting, resourceful hacks, and easy techniques. We'll see you guys next time.